Manchester United are currently hit with a little bit of a stadium problem. The new posh owner, Jim Ratcliffe, wants the stadium to be the Wembley of the North, but at the minute, you're quite far away from that. There's two options: build a new stadium behind the current one, or renovate the Old Trafford stand by stand. Last week I made an in-depth video about this, going into the two options in more detail, but also in that video I asked the United fans what they think of the situation, and during these interviews we had really quite long, good chats about it, and I had to cut a lot of it down to make it fit in last week's video. So I thought this week I could just put the interviews together, make a nice long video talking to the United fans and what they think the new Old Trafford should look like. So that's what this video is. I hope you enjoy, and let's get into it. But thank you, mate. I appreciate you joining me. I just wanted to get a bit of a gauge for the kind of United fans' opinion on the whole, Jim Ratcliffe stadium redevelopment. I feel like there's a few options out there for you guys. There's like either rebuild a really brand new stadium just behind Old Trafford now, spend $2 billion, have it amazing, or redevelop Old Trafford as it is now. And I just kind of wanted to get your opinions on that, mate. What do you think?
You know what it is for me here? I look at Old Trafford, just for the context here. The roof's leaking, the toilets aren't great, the facilities around Old Trafford aren't great. No, honestly, it's not great, Like, when you look at a club like Man United and you say to yourself, like, yo, we're big Man United, yeah, but the actual stadium around it, like, if you just look at it from the context of it, like, it's a very industrial site, like around Old Trafford. Like,
Yeah, it
in
is.
Man City, it's like you got a main road down there, you got houses across it, but in the ultimate, it's like a big, nice land. You know what I mean? They've redeveloped it. With United, it's very industrial. You've got so many freight lands and whatnot, etc., etc. And I'm like, it doesn't look good from that aspect of it, first and foremost. But
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, it does for me need a new stadium. I can't lie. As much as I want to keep that novelty and I want to keep that kind of, Old Trafford's my home and I've been there for the last 20 years and da 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 da. Like, you know what? It does need a new stadium. Like, when I look at Tottenham Stadium, I'm like, wow, amazing. When I look at people's building new stadiums, I'm like, you know what? We're gonna be here supporting United anyway. It'll take probably about 2-3 years to make, if it obviously gets planned or whatnot. I think that'll be better than redeveloping something that probably needs redeveloping everywhere, like the club shop, the kind of even the stairwells, everything. Like, it's very very old.
Yeah, for sure, mate. And I think, like you said, you mentioned it there. If you have that space, you don't have to leave Old Trafford, the area in
Yeah,
general,
it's
but then
true.
you don't have to leave for match day revenue because they'll just be building it behind you, won't they? And I think that would be so
Facts.
important. And I think as well, if you do build a new one, I said in the video, you could potentially keep Old Trafford. You could repurpose it for like a women's team or an academy. It doesn't have to go. And then
Mm.
like you have a complex then as well, don't you?
Yep, 100%. You got a complex there. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much avenues you can use, and even if that Old Trafford Stadium could be redeveloped to a women's stadium, I don't know.
Mm.
It could be. You know what I'm saying? Or it could be used as a training facility, or it could be used to make a what Man City done. They build a co-op arena. You could build an arena if you want to, and then get more match day revenue from that. So there's so much avenues you could do. And also, I don't know if you see the car parks, but they're too big for a car park to be there. Like, I've seen other car parks here. I'm like, bro, like, how much land are you wasting? Like,
Yeah.
genuinely, there's
Hmm.
so much car park space. I'm like, for, what's going on? You can build around Old Trafford as places where to park, you know what I mean, and
Hmm.
whatnot. But come on, guys, like, just too much land wasted for me personally.
Yeah,
Anyway,
they bought the land like with maybe like the idea to do it, and then just nothing's happened, which is it's quite United at the minute, isn't it? For that, like the
yeah,
the
yeah,
vision's there, but no one's acted on it, and because no one's acted on it in so many years, you've fallen behind, and it's
yeah.
such a mad thing to think about being United being the huge team. But I guess that's why it's good that you've got Jim Ratcliffe now.
See, I don't know how true the rumors are, but I think they were saying, or news reports were coming out saying it would be cheaper to build a new stadium than it would to redevelop Old Trafford. And you have to think the grand scale of Old Trafford, and where I sit. I can see the whole stadium. I can see the rust. I can see the leaks. You were getting leaked on when you came to Old Trafford with me that time. Do you know what I mean?
Literally.
So you've seen it firsthand how bad the stadium has been allowed to get. I understand the history. I understand fans' reluctance to move away from Old Trafford because of, the every club has history. Don't get me wrong, but when you think the history is steeped in, if the biggest club in England, that stadium, what it holds. You know, you think of Old Trafford getting bombed and us having to go and play at Main Road, and then, you know, Busby Babes, Fergie. You know, I can understand the pain in fans not wanting to leave, but you look at the other side, and you know, part of me is like that, but I think eventually you have to become a modern club. You can't just live in the past, and United have lived in the past for far too long. You look at the owners living off the name of Manchester United of the past, and that's shown. You know, Old Trafford is very much a visual representation of their ownership. It's been allowed to fester and decay and become. You know, we're past it. Clubs have overtaken us, and you know, I'm not too sure about Chelsea, but I think of the big clubs in the Premier League, we're the only club not to have touched our stadium or moved to a new stadium within 20 years. Now, you think about how far film, animation, you know, technology has come in 20 years. Like, a bit of a tangent, but I was watching a couple of the Toy Story films with my daughter yesterday, Thea, and even from number 2 to number 4, the difference in the quality of the animation, like, it, you know, it's almost like a real film now. Like, the animation is ridiculous, and it's like that's going to be the same in any walk of life. Football is no different, and for Old Trafford not to be touched in 20 years, and just, you know, the best thing they do is put a lick of paint on. It's a reason. It's another reason why we're falling massively behind. And I'm not saying moving is the right answer, but I think for me, having that purpose-built, brand new, state-of-the-art, you know, Jim Ratcliffe saying Wembley of the North, which is a stupid thing, personally, I think. But, you know, we have to move on. And I think if it's the easiest option to have a purpose-built, brand new, state-of-the-art stadium, I'm all for it. Yes, keep Old Trafford and use it as a women's youth team stadium, something like that. And have it as a campus, like, and it's horrible for United fans to say, um, we have to follow City's model or whatever that. But what they've done around East Manchester, and I'm from East Manchester, so I know Beswick really well. Friend grew up down there, friends around there. Um, it was a shithole. It was an absolute shithole. You drive through as quick as you could. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you
Yeah.
didn't want to hang around there, and elements of that are still true today. But you look at what is around there now, the campus they've built, what it looks like. That's what we need. We need something similar to that, if not better, for us to move forward. And if they can do it, I think that's the way I would lean. Definitely, a new stadium for me propels us again, um, looking at becoming a big club again and challenging. And you know, the fact that we're not listed in the stadiums for the Euros coming up that are going to be here. If that's not the biggest embarrassment, and kicking you up the ass to go and sort Old Trafford out, if not build a new one and sort it by redeveloping, I don't really know what would be.
Yeah, I'm sort of leaning towards the brand new stadium. I'm old school. A lot of people will probably be surprised that I would say I prefer to go new stadium over the rebuilding Old Trafford, the history, the nostalgia side of things, the memories and things like that. For me, that's what they are. They are memories, and they're never going to go. And I understand everyone's angle on that. And it wouldn't seem right to knock Old Trafford down. I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of United fans have got a problem with, actually seeing it turn to rubble. I think what the best outcome would be, and where I think a new stadium works for us, is the infrastructure around the new stadium. We could literally redesign Old Trafford into being the under-21s and the women's team stadium, not completely tear it down. We could build it into a campus area. We definitely need to get our women's under-21s team back into Manchester, because they're playing outside of Manchester at the moment. That's how embarrassing it is for us. So, I mean, the biggest fear is seeing Old Trafford turn to rubble, but I think everyone understands, if you're going to compete, if you want to get yourselves back up there at the top table of football, you need to have the best facilities, which United don't have. So I'm more on board with the new stadium and making it the best that there is in the world, which it would have to be. And I would think Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos would go down that road of making sure it was the best in every single way. And I think we should be excited for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I'm surprisingly, mate, everyone I spoke to so far is saying the new stadium, which is surprising to me. I just think with the amount of room that you guys have back there, and that's already just owned, the potential for it to be like this insane complex, and with United, money is obviously you have to think about it as a business, and of course you can't just blow loads of money, but there's a lot of money there to be spent. And I think if you built out this campus similar to what City have done, and I know you don't want me to compare you guys to City, but what they've done with their campus and what you could do, and like you said, the rebuilding of Old Trafford, so you get to keep the history, but then you get still use it. I think that would just be brilliant. I think you could revitalise that whole side of Manchester as well, and make it a destination, because at the minute there's not much going on other than Old Trafford, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. There are plans already been put in place by Trafford Council for redeveloping the whole area around Salford Quays. It is really nice as it is now, but it can be so much better. And the transport links in, the potential there is clear. There are several different links into Old Trafford via motorways, tram links, and everything, even by canal. Some people actually come into Old Trafford on a canal barge. There actually are events that do that as well. So all we need is a landing strip, mate, for the posh to come in, and we've got every form of transport into Old Trafford. But no, around it, you're looking at what I want to see. I want to see concerts. I want to see NFL. I want to see everything now. I want to see it hold every type of event, multi-event venue, boxing, NFL, like I said. The rugby is always there anyway with the Super League, but I think bringing in that American side, and it is hard to sort of like admit that the Americans are the best at this, but they are. They are. You only have to look at their stadiums. I went on the tour last season to the States. They're phenomenal. They're absolutely phenomenal stadiums. That's what United need to have. If we're going to be the biggest again, which Sir Jim is saying United are going to be, he is fully on board, and his preference is the new stadium. I think he will push this more than anything. But if I'm being honest right now with you, I feel like if you put a vote out on a poll right now, the majority would go new stadium. It would, because 5-star hotels, fan parks, everything that can be built around there, and the space, like you just mentioned there, it is boundless. There's no limit to what Manchester United could do in that area, and I think that's where we have to look at and go, you know what, we can actually make a fortune off this as well. And I'm not going to go into the naming rights, but that's a bit of an awkward conversation, that one, with a lot of fans in terms of naming rights and stuff. But there is massive, massive potential to earn an absolute fortune for the club as well. And once people are in, I don't think there's going to be much issue. I think if you said to United fans, we're losing Old Trafford, we're not going to be there anymore, are you going to stop going to games because of it? They're not. They're not going to stop. It's just that initial horrible thought of it, I think, more than anything.
I was having the same dilemma in my head. So I've obviously headed up to Old Trafford recently and kind of had a look as to the room around Old Trafford. I mean, you'll probably find most fans will say it's the car park behind the Stretford end, and slightly behind the Sir Alex Ferguson stand. We're limited by obviously the railway track and the canal, so we'd have to fit somewhere between those two. For me, being such an old ground built in like 1910, in order to kind of refurbish Old Trafford to a standard that would meet the likes of Tottenham, would meet the likes of like Man City, our rivals, and so on, I don't think it could be done. I think even though it would probably cost more to build a whole new stadium initially, I think long-term financially, the best option would be to build a new stadium, for me anyway. And I think Sir Jim is probably leaning that way as well too.
Yeah, and I think as well, the revenue will come in as well, because I think he's talking about the Wembley of the North, but he wants you can have gigs there to rival the Etihad. You'll probably end up having NFL there, won't you, as well?
Yeah, I mean, Tottenham have got the monopoly on the NFL. I think is it the NBA at West Ham as well? Is that right? Yeah. So maybe if they ever want to do hockey or something like that over here, we can take that on. But yeah, I think again with that railway track, apparently we can't build over it. I think that's what the council said. I might be wrong. So there is only one viable option. In order to modify such an old ground, it's going to cost a lot of money as well. So if you're going to outlay that much money, as you said, keep Old Trafford as it is. So Jim says Wembley of the North. I don't know how you felt, mate, but when they knocked down the original Wembley and didn't keep the Twin Towers, I was distraught. How did you feel about that?
I'm not old enough, mate, to remember the old Wembley.
So it's the beard, mate. You mean?
Yeah, no, I look old. I look like I should remember those days, but I don't. To be fair, I only really have memories of this new one. But I know I've been to the new one. It doesn't feel amazing when you're there.
Well, I look my age and I am old. And for me, if they are to knock down Old Trafford, I want them to at least keep something, to reminisce about and something iconic. Because I don't know if they would keep it as it is for the women's team. I just feel like they would probably knock it down. I'm not sure.
I mean, I've watched your videos, mate. That what they did with Highbury, could be amazing. Like it may be like a complex, I don't know, a hotel or even apartments. But the way Highbury have done it, keeping some of the facades, I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, I think Arsenal were kind of lucky because obviously with aspects of it being a listed building, they kind of had no choice, so it worked in their favour. I'm guessing that wouldn't apply to United, but with the amount of fans that they've got, obviously Gary Neville spoke about creating like a Man United world, but we get the mick taken out of us for being like the Disney. Was it Woodward that called us the Disney of football or something? So to have a Disney World as well, it's not going to do us fans and the banter any good. But it could be worse. It could be Stamford Bridge, couldn't it, mate? Really?
Oh, mate, don't get me started on Stamford Bridge. It's an absolute nightmare. But thank you, mate. I appreciate you jumping on real quick.
All right, that's it. Thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed. And also just appreciate the love on the Old Trafford video. It's doing really well. The comments are great. I'm massively appreciative of it. I'm definitely going to make a few more videos like that. But also I'm going to do some videos where I travel to games, go to games myself, experiences, that kind of stuff. So I hope you look forward to that. If you do, make sure you subscribe to see where this journey goes and takes us on this channel. But that's it. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you next week.